Alright, welcome to another update video. So this is now day 4 of me playing WonderHero, the latest launched NFT play to earn game. And the economy has stabilized somewhat. So as you can see, we can go to, if you go to the main website and you go to their marketplace, you can actually see the prices of their tokens and we do a refresh. So right now at the top, okay, maybe I can do highlight here. So at the top, you can see the WND price here is at $1 per coin. So that's pretty much stable. And HON price has actually more or less stabilized. It's actually increased a little bit from the last update. So on day 2, it dropped to around 3 cents. Now it's on day 3 and day 4, it's risen back up to about 4.5 to 4.6 cents. And it stayed the same from day 3 to day 4. So there's hope that maybe the coin price would stabilize around this price, because if it stabilizes around this price, the return on investment, potential return on investment is still not too bad, still potentially good. Still probably looking at least about maybe 2 months to ROI based on the HON price that you earn. But I have been doing a track. I have been tracking my return on investment, like how much I earn and how much I spend on this game, and I have actually compiled an Excel spreadsheet. So if you can see it here, basically these are the stuff that I spent. So I have a total spend of 451 USD on buying skins as well as weapons. I haven't bought any equipment per se, but I've only bought skins as well as that means hero skins as well as hero weapons in order to play the hero. I also managed to farm, among my hero skins, I managed to farm Fuma, which is here. I managed to farm a Fuma hero skin, and I went into the market to buy a Fuma weapon instead and decided to play Fuma as the main DPS. So once I did that, I leveled Fuma up to the same level as my other heroes. I did a lot better. They decided to sell off my Kagura skin and Kagura weapon, which is why in my spreadsheet here, you can see some sale. So I sold the Incarnation attire, which is a Kagura skin, and then I sold the Rogue Shadow, which is a Kagura weapon. I actually had another skin. Oh, okay. The Incarnation attire was actually, I farmed another Ashanti skin, which I sold in the marketplace for 30 USD. And then the Modern Time was a Kagura skin, which I sold for 34 USD. So from total sales, total earnings from the sales of the weapon skins, sorry, the hero skins was 143 USD. So this now I'm down about 300 USD here. And I've been actually selling my HON and WND on a regular basis ever since the second day of playing, I guess, because the launch was 26. So on 27, I started to sell HON for this amount. So you can see here the price at which I sold. I sold on day 2, it was at 6.8 cents. And then on day 3 was the lowest. HON was at 3.3 cents. And I sold 5 WND as well. That was $1.04. And then later the same day, I believe it was at night, I actually sold HON again at 120 HON for now it's 4.1 cents. It's gone up. And yesterday I've actually sold as well. So I've sold HON as well, 250 of it at 4.1 cents. And I've sold WND to WND as well at a slightly lower price at 0.97 cents. So the total earnings from selling the coins was only $38, and that is from 3 days of playing the game, $38. So if you take out a calculator and you do some math, 3 days at $38. So if I were to try and break even, that means my initial investment of around here, right? So now I'm still down about 300, right? So if my coins were to break even with it, if I want to break even with the sale of coins, so let's say just 300 USD divided by 30, maybe that's an average per day. So I have about 38 coins earned, right? 38 coins earned per day divided by 3 days of playing. So that's about 12 USD a day. So if I want to break my investment of 300 USD divided by 12 USD a day, so that would take about 25 days, right? So 1 month of playing, assuming there's a big assumption there, assuming that HON price and WND price stays the same, So far, WND price, their governance token for the game, WND seems to be quite stable, staying around $1. It's the HON price, the utility token, that goes up and down. So there have been certain updates to the game as well that may have helped to stabilize it. So one of the big changes that happened on actually day 2 is that they patched away Infinity War and Assist. So if you see here, that unlocks at player level 8. Infinity War used to be unlocked at level 3, and I actually played 2 levels of Infinity War before they patched it, and I managed to get 2 sets of equipment as rewards from Infinity War. So Infinity War being accessible means that equipment was being farmed at a much easier rate, which means that more equipment was flowing into the market for sale and lowering the price of equipment sales and maybe skin sales as well. Then for this player assist as well, player assist was unlocked previously at level 2, so I played like 2 days of player assist. I got 2 low-end equipments from it, so player assist also unlocks equipment, and then they now patched it to only accessible at player 7, which means it's player 6, which means it's a lot more difficult, since if you look at me, this is the 4th day of playing, and I'm only at level 3, hitting level 4 probably tomorrow on the 5th day of playing. And from level 6, I probably still have to play like at least 2 weeks, right? And probably 3 weeks or 1 month to reach level 8. So that means there is still a significant barrier to getting all this equipment from these extra stages. So the good thing is that Assist as well as Infinite War doesn't require energy to play. But based on the previous patch, right, Infinite War will give you 3 free tries of Infinite War per week. So if you want to play more runs of Infinite War, you have to like buy a better tome, which I think the game is gonna release later for people to buy, probably using some of their HON or WND or USDT. So I'm not too sure what token they're gonna let players buy it at, but there'll be a tome for players to play Infinite War. But if not, if the game mechanics stays the same, you're only able to play 3 Infinite Wars per week. And you can have you can play player assist every single day to get free equipment without using energy. So these are ways to get extra equipment that you could sell. But then again, the equipment has really flooded the market, and equipment prices are really, really cheap. If you look at equipment per se, look at the lowest price. Now the average equipment price is at 5, right? 5 to maybe 10 USD. So equipments have become really cheap because they are really easy to get, and they don't actually make a big difference to, like, this actually is not too bad. It gives armor, right? So like the equipment doesn't really make a big difference to the heroes. So what makes a bigger difference is the weapons. The weapons actually will make a big difference. If you look at the good weapons here, they actually will have a much better status effects. So you want to go for better status effects, higher damage, higher damage stats, higher attack stats, higher damage stats, and so on. And that will let your hero do higher DPS, and the higher level weapons, when upgraded, they will also do a higher percentage of DPS as well. So this is why the higher, like 5-star, 4 to 5-star weapons are selling at much higher prices, as you can see here. So they are close to in the hundreds of USD range. And if you look at the really rare weapons, some people are pricing it at like 200-300, some even like 600 USD. But I'm not sure whether those are selling. Actually, for even all these 200-300 USD weapons, I'm not sure whether they're selling as well. People are pricing it there, but we're not too sure of whether these equipments are selling or not. So my feedback on the game so far, so my views on the gameplay of the game is that generally it's good, because the game itself is quite fun for me to play after 4 days. There's a variety of variety of enemies to fight against. In the first few chapters, right, you will see that most of the enemy types are, like from chapter 1 to chapter 3, most of the enemy types are about the same. Then from chapter 4 onwards, you start to see variation in the enemy types. That means they're not just reskins or recolor of the same enemy skins. So they basically have different enemy types with different skins, as well as different attack types and different status effects that the enemies can do. So as you get further into chapters, the enemy can do stun, they can do poison, they can probably have debuffs later on in the game as well. Then they have armor and so on, especially from chapter 4 onwards. So like you start to fight so-called enemy heroes. like the same hero skins that is playable by the player. You are fighting against those hero skins, but obviously those enemies are at a much higher level, which are much higher hit point pool. They are typically, like in chapter 4, their hit point pools are like 10,000 plus, 20,000 plus, and so on. So they're much harder to kill, and it provides a challenge for the players to go through. And then now I'm in chapter 5. I'm stuck at chapter 5-3, where I cannot kill the enemy hero per se, because it has healing effects and it has poison effects and it has a very high hit point pool. So it's difficult for me to kill. So I'm considering whether I should invest in buying another healing hero in order to buff my team to progress further into the game. Because if not, I either have to buy better gear or such, but that would require me to invest even more money into the game. So far, gameplay is good. Voice acting is good as well. Like, as I've gone through the stages, each stage has a very simple story, and most of the chapters are actually voice acted pretty decently well. Like I mentioned in my first video, obviously these are not the top tier voice actors. Like, they're not super famous voice actors that you regularly see in your like AAA animes, right? But even because Japan is such a competitive industry for voice actors, so even their grade B, their tier B or tier C voice actors would still do the job very well, and the voice acting in the game is really good.
Mm. 先ほど通りかかった時に心そそられる賑やかな音が聞こえての。
ホーキンス校長先生、安心してください。同じチームにな。
さすがリビ君、安心。
誰があんたと協力するかっての。ちょっと体調ぶらないでよね。E組の隊長はこの私よ。
So story is quite light. There's not much of a story, but at least voice acting is good. It's interesting. You get some variation as you play the game. So every chapter is different. Yeah, they're not like repeating the same enemies and so on. The translation into English text is not 100% accurate, because I do understand a little bit of Japanese myself. Not very good at it. But from my basic understanding of like broken Japanese, I do realize that sometimes the script that the voice actors are reading is different from the English text that we see on screen. So most of the time, the English translation still does a fairly decent job of relaying what is going on in that particular scene, what the voice actors are saying, what the Japanese voice actors are saying. But there are some scenes whereby the translation is not 100% accurate, like the voice actors are saying certain things, then they are not getting the proper translation as English text. Like the English will like gloss over like some of the subtle details that's being spoken by the Japanese voice actors in their script and so on. So, but that isn't a deal breaker. That's still okay. Generally, the English text is still clear, simple enough. Lets the player understand the general flow of the story, even though it's not 100% accurate. So not too bad issue with it. So overall, would I still recommend the players to play the game? I would say, yeah, okay. So this game at this point of time, after day 4 of playing, I would still recommend new players to enter and play it. So your initial investment, you should take note that there are certain heroes that you need to target. So it would best to be look online for certain maybe build guides or something. But personally, I would recommend that a healer such as Nightingale is actually crucial for the team. I'm really considering spending money on buying Nightingale as well, because without a healer, my heroes eventually die to high damage enemies that are like in chapter 3, chapter 4 and chapter 5 per se. The enemies do too much damage, and the health pool of my heroes is not high enough to sustain that damage. So a healing hero like Nightingale along with associated weapon would cost you close to like 200 USD actually, because it is a hero that seems to be quite crucial to progressing far towards the game, so people are pricing her weapons as well as her skins pretty high, which is unfortunate, but it is an investment that you have to consider. So Nightingale is absolutely essential. And then you need to have good DPS heroes like Fuma Kojiro, good melee DPS heroes, Celeste Lecru, Lecrox, Recru, I'll probably call it Lecrox, Celeste Lecrox. Then good DPS heroes, I'm not too sure about Julia. I think Shion Muramasa is also a really good DPS hero. And certain range heroes you might consider, but you might want to consider heroes that are not within all these default heroes. That means good tanking heroes from the feedback through the Discord is that I believe there's this tank that's quite good. So its price is steadily going up. I think it's been cleared off the market actually. Good tank is Sigrid. Yep. I remember. I can't find it yet, but Sigrid is a good tanking hero. I think she has a high health pool. Yep. Sigrid Odinson has high health pool, her skin has high hit points, and if you can find her gear, if you equip her with additional armor as well, she becomes a really efficient tank. So she doesn't do a lot of damage with her weapons, but her skins are going up higher and higher in price as well, as people are realizing how good of a tank she is. But I don't think that tank Sigrid is absolutely essential to the game. What is essential is Nightingale for heals, as well as at least 2 or maybe even 3 good DPS. Like at least 1 or 2 good melee DPS like Fuma, Shion, Celeste. Those are good melee DPSs. And then if you want a range DPS, I'm not too sure which one to recommend because I've been playing Angela, but her range of attacks is not too good, right? She only attacks in a straight line, so she can't hit a lot of enemies in an area of effect range. I've tried Kagura Mine. I don't really like her attack range as well. Like, it's quite difficult to hit enemies with her attack range, especially if the enemies go up to a close range, because in all the earlier chapters, right, most of the enemies are melee, and they will like try to crowd onto your heroes in the melee range, and then Kagura as well as Angela will not be able to hit those enemies because their attacks are only effective at range. They can't hit the first square that the enemy is in. And so I'm not too sure about Julia, Valkyrie, but yeah. Then and any other DPS, I think like maybe among some of the like the so-called non-starter DPSs, I think heroes probably like, I'm not too sure about Fran. I think Fran is recommended. Some people recommend Fran, but I'm not too sure. I haven't seen her in action yet, so I really can't say. I think Yoroi Kim has good potential as like a sub tank as well as a DPS as well, because she has decently high hit points, and her weapons seem to do AoE damage, so in the melee range, like in the range around her. So I think Yoroi Kim is probably decent as well. Yeah, so if you're gonna invest in these heroes, your initial investment is gonna go up at least like probably you're looking at least 300 USD for 3 heroes. If you're buying 4 hero skins with 4 weapons, that's almost 400, right? Maybe 400 and slightly upwards of 400 plus USD, because just Nightingale alone would cost you about 150 to 200 USD just for Nightingale. So yeah, that's the price that you have to put up with. And if the coin price stays the same, you're looking at a return on investment within less than a month, right? From playing, if you are selling all the extra skins and equipment that you get, and you're selling all your HON and WND that you get into the market. So also as well as you get higher and higher level, right? Because as you get into higher levels, like you clear further along in the story chapters, I realized the amount of HON that I farm is at a higher amount. Because I can see here that today I have about 403 HON. If you have seen my video on like day 1 or day 2 of playing, I only got like 180 HON. So the reward from getting HON will go up the further you go into the story. And to go further into the story, you need to upgrade your heroes, as well as you need to get good heroes with good weapons as well. So the better your initial investment, that means if initially when you invest, you buy better heroes with better equipment, even though they might be slightly more expensive, but if they enable you to go further into the story as compared to other players, you can actually get more tokens, right? More HON and not more WND, because WND is capped at 2, but you can get more HON. And when you get more HON, you also increase the amount of money that you get per day, right? Because the amount of rewards that you get per day is tied to the amount of HON that you get plus the amount of equipment that you get. So as you get higher, probably you might be getting better equipment. I'm not 100% sure on that, because so far equipment drop and HON drop seems to be very random. But definitely the amount of HON drop does increase the further along in the further chapters that you are in. Okay, so I suppose that's a long enough video. Thank you very much for listening to this update, and we'll see you guys next time.